The 1970s, a decade that brought us disco, bell-bottoms, and some of the most questionable automotive decisions in history. While this era gave birth to legends, it also produced vehicles that made buyers wonder what the manufacturers were thinking. Before we dive into this automotive disaster zone, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Today, we're counting down the 10 worst cars of the 1970s. These aren't just bad cars. They're vehicles that combine poor engineering, terrible timing, and questionable design choices into unforgettable failures. Let's get started. Number 10, 1971 to 1980 Chevrolet Vega. Coming in at number 10, we have the Chevrolet Vega. General Motors launched the Vega in 1971 as their answer to the growing import market. On paper, it looked promising. In reality, it became one of GM's most notorious failures. The Vega came with a 2.3L inline-4 engine producing 90 horsepower. Sounds modest, but the real problem wasn't the power. It was the engine block itself. GM used an innovative aluminum block with a silicon-etched bore. Unfortunately, this technology wasn't ready for prime time. Here's what went wrong. The engine had a tendency to overheat, causing the cylinder walls to warp. This led to excessive oil consumption and catastrophic engine failure, often before the car hit 50,000 miles. Owners watched blue smoke pour from their exhaust pipes, signaling the beginning of the end. Number 9, 1975 to 1980 AMC Pacer. At number 9, the AMC Pacer. American Motors Corporation took a bold gamble in 1975 with the Pacer, marketing it as the first wide small car. And wide. It was nearly as wide as a full-size sedan, but only 171 in long. The design was unconventional, to put it mildly. With its massive greenhouse and fishbowl-like windows, the Pacer offered exceptional visibility, but it also turned the interior into a greenhouse on sunny days with no effective air conditioning to compensate in early models. Under the hood, the Pacer came standard with a 3.8L inline-6 producing 100 horsepower. That's right, 100 horsepower to move a 3,000 pounds car with the aerodynamics of a brick. 0 to 60 took nearly 14 seconds, and fuel economy hovered around 16 mpg. Number 8, 1975 to 1966 Chevrolet Cosworth Vega. Number 8 brings us back to the Vega family, but this time it's the Cosworth Vega. The Cosworth Vega featured a 2.0L dual overhead cam 4-cylinder engine with electronic fuel injection producing 110 horsepower. In 1975, that was actually impressive for a 4-cylinder. The engine featured forged aluminum pistons, stainless steel exhaust valves, and a genuine Cosworth-designed cylinder head. So, what went wrong? Everything else. First, the price. At $6,000, the Cosworth Vega cost nearly double the standard model. For that money, buyers could get a Corvette or a loaded Camaro with a V8. Second, the regular Vega's reputation was already destroyed. No amount of engineering could overcome buyers' fear of catastrophic engine failure and terminal rust. Third, despite the exotic engine, performance was underwhelming. The car still weighed 2,600 pounds, and with only 110 horsepower, it couldn't deliver the excitement its price tag promised. 0 to 60 took about 10 seconds. Quick for the era, but not $6,000 quick. Number 7, 1974 to 1978 Ford Mustang II. At number 7, the Ford Mustang II. The original Mustang defined the pony car segment in 1964. 10 years later, Ford replaced it with this. The Mustang II represented everything wrong with 1970s automotive thinking. Built on Ford's Pinto platform, the Mustang II debuted in 1974 as Ford's response to the energy crisis. It was smaller, lighter, and came standard with a 2.3L 4-cylinder engine producing just 88 horsepower. Let that sink in. A Mustang with 88 horsepower. Even the optional 2.8L V6 only produced 105 horsepower. Ford eventually offered a 302 cubic inch V8 in 1975, but it was so detuned that it only made 140 horsepower, less than half what the same engine produced just 5 years earlier. Performance was abysmal. The 4-cylinder Mustang II took nearly 15 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. The V8 model did it in about 10 seconds, which sounds decent until you realize that's slower than most modern minivans. Number 6 is the Ford Pinto. The Pinto is perhaps the most infamous car on this list, and for tragic reasons that go far beyond just being a bad vehicle. Ford introduced the Pinto in 1971 to compete with small imports from Japan and Germany. It featured simple conventional engineering. A 2.0L 4-cylinder engine producing 75 horsepower connected to either a 4-speed manual or 3-speed automatic transmission. The Pinto was cheap, fuel-efficient, and initially popular. Ford sold hundreds of thousands per year throughout the early 1970s. But behind the scenes, a deadly flaw lurked. The fuel tank was positioned behind the rear axle with minimal protection. In rear-end collisions, even at relatively low speeds, the tank could rupture and ignite. The filler neck could separate, spraying gasoline into the passenger compartment. Protruding bolts on the differential housing could puncture the tank. Number 5 is 1976 to 1979 Chevrolet Chevette. Coming in at number 5, the Chevrolet Chevette. The Chevette came standard with a 1.4L 4-cylinder engine producing just 52 horsepower. Yes, 52. Later models upgraded to a 1.6L producing 60 horsepower, which was still barely adequate for a car weighing 2,000 pounds. 0 to 60 took nearly 20 seconds with the base engine. Highway passing maneuvers required planning measured in minutes, not seconds. The 4-speed manual transmission felt like stirring rocks in a bucket, and the optional 3-speed automatic sucked away what little power the engine produced. Inside, the Chevette was a penalty box. Base models came with vinyl bench seats, rubber floor mats, and almost no sound insulation. At number 4, we have the Triumph TR7. At number 4, we have the Triumph TR7. The TR7 replaced the beloved TR6 with a wedge-shaped design that polarized opinion from day one. Some found it futuristic. Most thought it looked like a doors stop with wheels. Under the hood sat a 2.0L 4-cylinder engine producing 90 horsepower in US specification models. This powered a car that weighed 2,200 pounds, resulting in sluggish performance. 0 to 60 took about 12 seconds, and the top speed was barely 110 miles per hour. Unimpressive for a sports car. But performance wasn't the real problem. Reliability was catastrophic, even by British Leyland standards. And that's saying something. Electrical systems failed constantly. Lucas Electronics, nicknamed the Prince of Darkness by British car enthusiasts, provided components that seemed allergic to consistent operation. Headlights would dim, gauges would stop working, and the car would occasionally refuse to start for no apparent reason. Number 3, 1978-1979 Chrysler LeBaron. The LeBaron was built on Chrysler's outdated rod platform, which was essentially a warmed-over design from the 1960s. It featured body-on-frame construction when competitors had moved to modern unibody designs years earlier. Under the hood, buyers got a 225 cubic in slant 6 producing 110 horsepower or optional V8s that had been strangled by emissions equipment. The 360 cubic in V8 produced just 140 horsepower, while the 360 cubic in version managed 170 horsepower. These were engines that had produced nearly double that power just a few years earlier. Build quality was atrocious. Panel gaps were measured in fractions of inches. The doors didn't align properly. Electrical gremlins plagued every system. Fuel economy was terrible despite the low power output, typically around 13 mpg in city driving. The car weighed over 3,800 pounds, which explained both the poor mileage and the sluggish performance. Number 2, 1971 to 1973 Chevrolet Vega Comic. The comic wagon introduced in 1971 took all of the Vega's existing problems and added new ones. The wagon body style added about 100 pounds of weight while keeping the same underpowered engines. The 2.3 L 4-cylinder with 90 horsepower or later a 110 horsepower version. The extra weight made an already slow car even slower. The Combat could barely achieve 60 miles per hour in under 15 seconds, and that was when everything was working properly. The wagon's extended body amplified the rust problems. The longer floor pan and additional rear body panels provided more surface area for corrosion. The hatchback seals leaked constantly, allowing water to enter the cargo area and rust the floor from above while road salt attacked from below. Number 1, 1974 to 1980 AMC Gremlin. And here we are at number 1, the AMC Gremlin. The Gremlin wasn't just a bad car. It was an automotive disaster that perfectly captured American Motors Corporation's desperate struggle for survival in the 1970s. AMC introduced the Gremlin on April Fool's Day, 1970, which should have been everyone's first clue. The design was created by literally chopping off the rear end of the AMC Hornet. This wasn't careful styling. It was automotive amputation with a hacksaw. The result looked exactly like what it was, an unfinished car. The stubby rear end, awkward proportions, and bizarre side profile made it one of the ugliest vehicles ever produced. AMC knew it was ugly. They leaned into it with the name Gremlin, admitting up front that their car looked like a creature from a horror movie. Build quality reflected AMC's financial struggles. Panel gaps varied widely. Paint was thin and prone to chipping. The electrical system was unreliable. Rust developed quickly, especially around the rear wheel wells where the chopped body created water traps.